welcome. Hi, Nick. It's Kathy Sir calling. It's 6:30. I'm going to put you on speakerphone. Okay. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay, can you hear us? Hello?
Yep.
And how about the people on the phone? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Can you hear Nick on the phone? Nick, can you say hello?
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, Nick.
I hear him also.
Okay,
Next, I could hear.
well, thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting to order and note the members of council present. I will call out your name if you can say that you are present, please. Councillor Chasson,
Present.
Councillor Hatfield,
Present.
Councillor Reese,
Present.
Councillor Tate.
Present.
Okay, and staff, we have Kathy and Maury here at the table with me. Also on the phone, if you could tell us that you are present for this meeting, as I call out the names: Manuela,
Present.
Corey,
Present.
Alex,
Present.
Jason. Okay, and Kevin.
Present.
Okay, and also on the phone is Nick.
Present.
Thank you. If we have the agenda in front of us, Councillor Chasson, can I ask you to move for approval of the agenda?
I do move to approval.
Okay, in favor, Councillor Chasson,
Yes.
Councillor Hatfield,
Yes.
Councillor Reese,
Yes.
Councillor Tate.
Yes.
We need a mover and a seconder for
Oh,
committee of
I'm sorry.
adjustment.
We're
Sorry.
good. I needed a seconder for this as well. Go back. I'll ask Councillor Hatfield, will you second this motion?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Did you, Kathy, you're going to read it then?
Moved by Councillor Chasson, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 be approved.
I'll ask if you're in favor. Councillor Chasson,
In favor.
Councillor Hatfield,
Yes.
Councillor Reese,
Yes.
and Councillor Tate.
Yes.
The agenda is approved. No announcements at this time. Declaration of pecuniary interest on this topic only. So there is none. Approval of the minutes from January 28th, 2020. Councillor Reese, will you move?
Yes, I will move.
And Councillor Tate, will you second that, please?
Yes.
Okay, can I have the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Tate. Resolved that the minutes of the Municipality of Walla Committee of Adjustment be adopted as presented. Minutes of a Committee of Adjustment meeting held on Tuesday, January 28, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 3, inclusive of the minute book.
Thank you. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese
Yes, I do.
and Councillor Tate, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Motion is carried. There's no old business. Under new business, the first item, 7.1, is to approve the actions of the Secretary Treasurer. I'll need a mover. Councillor Hatfield, will you move?
Yes, I will. Mr. Mayor, could I say something, please? I'm wondering if everybody's putting their mic on mute in between. I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Well, we'll ask people to go back and put their mics on mute if they're not talking. And when you're ready to speak, just unmute your device. We'll try that and see if it works. So back to 7.1. So will be moved by Councillor Hatfield. Councillor Chasson, will you second the actions of the Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll call the vote. Are you in favor, Councillor Chasson?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Hatfield? Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I am.
Sorry, going a little too quickly here. The clerk will read that motion before I call the vote. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Chasson. Resolved that the Municipality of Wawa Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve the actions of the Secretary Treasurer with respect to the notification of the following applicant. B2-20, Mr. Nick Alexopoulos, for consent to sever a portion of land located at 67 McKinley Avenue. Plan M27, lot 334, part lots 343 and 337, registered plan 1R, 9525, part 1, registered plan 1R, 12308, parts 3 and 4, parcels 3816, Algoma West section, and transfers in addition to the lot located at 33 Caverhill Street, plan M27, lot 337, part parcel 12331, Algoma West section, registered plan 1R, 9525, part 3, to allow for a larger commercial lot in the Municipality of Wawa, District of Algoma.
Thank you. And I'll call those questions. Do you approve, Councillor Chasson?
Yes, I approve. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hatfield, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Tate, do you approve?
Is there any question period in this?
And the 7.2, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions then. This is just approving the actions taken to get to 7.2.
I approve.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 7.2, the consent application. Councillor Tate, will you move that?
I'll move that.
Councillor Reese, will you second?
Yes, I will second.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Reese, resolved that the Municipality of Wawa Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve the application with respect to application number B2/20, Mr. Nick Alexopoulos, for consent to sever a portion of land located at 67 McKinley Avenue. This is not the correct one. Hold on, my apologies. So it reads, moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Reese, resolved that application B2/20 submitted by Mr. Nick Alexopoulos for consent to sever a portion of land located at 67 McKinley Avenue and transfers in addition to a lot located at 33 Caverhill Street to allow for a larger commercial lot, be and is hereby granted for the following reason. No objections were received. And further, that the 20-day appeal period will commence once the provincial declared emergency has ended.
Before I call the question, Councillor Tate, did you have something you wanted to speak to on this matter?
Yes, I was just wondering, this like before these changes take place, this was all mailed out to the people in that area and everything like that?
Yes, so Councillor Tate, if I may. So initially, I had issued a notice to the public on March the 23rd, indicating that there would be an in-person hearing. And then as a result of the declared provincial emergency, I ended up issuing a new notice to all the residents within the 60-meter radius, a new notice on April the 8th advising that the hearing would occur through electronic means. So everyone was notified.
And there was no complaints or any inquiries?
As of 4 p.m. today, we did not receive any written letters of concern unless Kevin had received anything, but I did not.
Okay, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, did you have any comments you want to make on this matter?
No, like Kathy, I haven't received anything indicating that there was an issue with it.
Okay. Before I call the vote, Nick, did you want to make a comment or you okay with everything?
Everything's fine on my end.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, I did prepare that one little statement.
Yeah, but I haven't called the question yet.
Okay, but before you do, just to give
Oh.
that.
I should do that before we call. I'll say, so just before we call a question, I just want to read the following. A regulatory change for Municipal Planning Act decisions was approved by the provincial government through Ontario Regulation number 149/20. This regulation will affect this planning application as follows. 1, the notice of decision will be posted following the termination of the COVID-19 emergency. And 2, the 20-day appeal period will commence following the termination of the COVID-19 emergency. I'll call the question now on 7.2. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Tate, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. The motion is carried. We just need the one for the adjournment. Okay. So I'll ask Councillor Chasson, will you move to adjourn?
Yes, I will.
Okay, we just need the one, so I'll call the question. Councillor Chasson, you approve?
I approve.
Oh, sorry, we're being very formal here, even though there's just the one. The clerk has the resolution, I'm sorry.
Moved by Councillor Chasson, resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 6:41 p.m.
Okay, Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield? Do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate, do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. We'll move right into
Before we
the,
do, I'd like to end the call with Mr. Alexander.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Nick. I'm going to end this call now.
Thanks,
I
Nick.
appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
So I'll call the corporate planning meeting to order at 6:43. We need to take attendance again for this meeting as well. I guess we should. We just make sure we're formal here. Make sure you're still on the line. Councillor Chasson, are you present?
I am present.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Tate?
Yes, I am. And Mayor, can you ask Kathy to speak up a little more?
We'll do that. Get her to,
No.
we will move the speaker a little closer to her.
So, Maureen, the owl doesn't make a difference. It's the telephone. The telephone needs to come closer to me. Sorry. Thank you.
Should I get staff as well? So I'll go through staff. Kathy and Maury are here with me. Manuela, you still with us?
I am.
Thank you. Corey?
I'm here.
Alex?
I'm here.
Thank you. Jason? Not here. Kevin?
Present.
Thank you. So first, the second item, disclosure of pecuniary interests. I believe.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one. Robert?
Are you going to read it?
Yes, I will.
Go ahead.
I, Councillor Robert Reed, declare a potential direct pecuniary interest on agenda item 7.2. The title is Kirsham Recommendations Connecting Link. The reason for this is I'm an employee of J. Provost.
Thank you. So we'll continue and stay online. I'm not sure what the rule is once we get to that item, whether you'll have to hang up and then call back in afterwards. Kathy, are you familiar with what we'll have to do there for that particular item?
You'll have to hang up and call back in.
Okay, we'll do that. So Robert, when we get to that item, you'll have to hang up and then we'll get you to call back in when we get to item 7.3. So for the corporate, I just need the one mover. So for the approval of the agenda, I'll ask Councillor Saison, will you move that for me?
I will move that.
Thank you. So for approval of the agenda, Councillor Saison, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
I approve.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate? Councillor Tate, are you there? We have lost Councillor Tate at the moment.
Oh, no, you don't. I just put it off mute.
Oh, okay, thank you. So the agenda is approved. We have a presentation by the CEO on the 2020 operating budget. Are you ready to start that, Maureen?
Yes, I just need 1 minute. I'm trying to find the PowerPoint presentation to upload to the live stream. Just need 1
I know
minute
that
here.
it's sitting on your screen.
So we'll just be a moment here dealing with a few technical things.
How about if I do it this way?
Try that.
I'm just getting to the first slide. Well, thank you everyone for your patience. I'm now turning to the presentation on the 2020 draft operating budget. And I thank Mayor and Council for the opportunity to provide this brief overview of the plan we're putting forward as the team of department heads. After the first slide is a budget 2020 strategy slide. And briefly, the key drivers for the creation of this 2020 budget and the strategy that we followed developing the operating budget was number one, to keep to council's budget goal of not increasing the tax levy any more than the cost of living increase for the year. So we tonight present to you a budget that presents a 2% levy increase. We focused on increasing the capital reserves and our reserve funds whenever possible in our budget. So we will be presenting a budget that adds over $800,000 to our reserve funds. The capital budget that was previously approved in principle by council in February forms part of this budget and adds about $6.4 million in capital projects, of which $4.7 million is funded through grants. We also looked at the budget being fiscally responsible, reducing discretionary spending wherever possible, and we concentrated on delivering essential services throughout our budget to the best of our ability, knowing that the funds and the monies we had were limited. We concentrated on ensuring that we paid down a large debt, the August debenture payment that is due, that is going to see about 1.6 million required refinancing. And so when we looked at the budget, we looked at all opportunities to reduce that 1.6 million debt. So when we go to refinancing, we're refinancing the minimum that we think we can to save interest payments in the long run. We also looked at this budget with a lens of viewing it as a COVID-19 viewer, looking at the fact that the reduced revenues, increased expenses, how we might provide taxpayer relief. So we kept our COVID-19 lens on as we looked at this budget. We also prepared for long-term sustainability and the changes to come this year and in following years. On the next page of the presentation, the Budget 2020 highlights. The impacts of COVID-19 have impacted the operating budget, mainly decreasing projected revenues. So as we looked at the budget, we found the opportunity to reduce discretionary spending and reallocate that money to a new set of accounts for costs and expenses related to COVID-19. So this budget includes new line items totaling $150,000, where we will be allocating any expenses related to COVID-19 in the budget. We also concentrated on major capital projects proceeding in 2020. To the best of our knowledge at this time, all the capital projects that we previously presented to council will move forward, including the Connecting Link project, which is valued at $3.3 million. Excuse me, sorry. The slideshow went a little array here. So the major capital projects will proceed, and the Connecting Link is noted here because that particular project is paid with 100% grant funding. The loan debenture repayment, as I said, a key highlight is that we are proposing that $200,000 be put as a down payment on the $1.6 million loan to be refinanced in August, meaning we would have to refinance $1.4 million. We have a new $103,000 added to make up that $200,000 that we're recommending come from reserve funds. And finally, for the first budget, we are presenting the water and sewer budget as a 100% non-tax supported budget. In essence, what that means is that it's a user pay system where all expenses will equal all revenues as funded by water and sewer revenues. And in our water and sewer budget, we have created a new water stabilization reserve, so that at the end of the year, we project there may be some differences between projected revenues and actual revenues. We've created a fund where we can go to the stabilization fund, so we're offsetting any non-anticipated expenses rather than going back to the user to fund. So those are some key highlights of the budget. On the next page, titled 2020 Balanced Budget, Revenues Equal Expenditures. As Mayor and Council are aware, a municipality is not permitted to operate an annual budget at a deficit, and that revenues must equal expenditures. So this slide sets out the budget summary for 2020, where the finance, taxation, and boards set of accounts shows a revenue of $10,309,665, with expenditures equaling $3.5 million, making up a difference between revenues and expenditures of $6.8 million. The administration budget, which includes the council expenses and revenues, the COVID-19 funds, the seniors related programs we're offering, the revenues anticipated are $235,000, and the expenditures are 1.6 million, with a difference of 1.4 million between revenues and expenditures. Protective services, which consists of our fire department, our building department, and bylaw enforcement, the revenues projected are $67,230. Expenditures approximately 506,000, with the difference of 438,000. Community services and tourism, 414,000 in revenues, and approximately 1.9 million expenditures, with a difference of 1.5 million. Infrastructure services, 606,000 revenues, 3,765,000 in expenditures, with a difference of 3,159,000. On the water and sewer budget, which is now separated out of the infrastructure services budget for our first time, the water and sewer revenues are projected at $1,455,959, and the expenditures will equal the same, meaning the difference will be zero. On the information technology budget, the revenues are $124,878 and expenditures $399,000 for a difference of $274,000. So the total budget the team is presenting to council tonight is a total budget based on revenues of $13,214,174, and the expenditures are equaling that at $13,214,174 for a zero difference, where revenues are equaling expenditures. I would note to council at this time that this is a decrease of 5.5% of our budget compared to the 2019 figures. On the next slide, the 2020 operating revenues I wanted to present to council, and I won't read out all the figures, but to show council comparison of our operating revenues compared to 2019. So some of the highlights I would note tonight is that for operating revenues under the finance department, the difference between 2019 and 2020 is a reduction of almost $500,000 in revenues, or 4.58%. But basically that can be explained due to the loss of grants and assessment reductions. So for example, for council, in 2020 compared to 2019, we did not receive 2 times our federal gas tax grant. So we've lost $189,500 from last year. We received last year the one-time grant from municipal affairs of $478,600 for the one-time modernization funding. We're not receiving that in 2020. And our Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund reduced another $51,500 compared to 2019, which also in 2019, if council recalls, we also lost almost the same amount of money. So basically, the difference can be attributed to that loss of grants compared to 2019. On the administration council seniors budget, the revenues are dropping approximately 48,000 or 17%, but that basically can be explained by 2 items. Number one, that council received a donation that went through the council budget from an anonymous donation to the Legion Hall. So that is not part of our 2020 budget. And as well, the addition of the COVID revenues that we're projecting to put in at $150,000 to offset expenses. For the protective fire budget, you can see we're reducing our revenues by about $10,000 or 13% of the revenues compared to 2019. And that really is a reduction of loss of permitting funds that we anticipate to receive in the shortened building season, mainly that we project will be due to COVID-19. On the community services and tourism budget, we're projecting a loss of almost $200,000 in revenues, or 32% of normal revenues compared to 2019. Those can certainly be attributed to COVID-19. The reductions in revenues we anticipate, as many of our programs and services are closed currently. And as you'll hear tonight, the potential loss of the normal funds that came in as revenues under the drag race. In infrastructure services, the budget is fairly similar. We're only projecting a $7,000 loss in revenues And they really can be attributed all over the budget, but we certainly note that airport revenues are likely to be reduced this year, again, mainly due to COVID-19. On the water and sewer budget, we're projecting just a slightly smaller budget in terms of revenues we're anticipating from all water and sewer charges. And I remind council that council and the mayor previously approved that this year that there be a 0% increase in the water and sewer rates, given that a new rate structure was to be implemented in May, which council has now deferred until implementing till September. So council has not increased overall its water and sewer revenues for the year. And on information technology, the revenues are slightly down as well. And that mainly is a loss of a fund of revenues coming from a contract we used to have in that department. So overall, the total budget of the revenues in 2020 compared to 2019 is down $768,000 or down the 5.5%. And again, that can be explained through various factors, but mainly explained at the loss of grants in 2019. On the next slide, I'm turning the page. 2020 revenues continued, and it's titled Main Sources. As the mayor and council are aware, the municipality only has 4 methods of collecting revenues. One is taxation, the second is grants, the third is through user fees, permits, licenses, and fines, and the fourth is other revenues such as penalties, interest, rents, sale of land. So on the taxation side, in 2020, we are proposing to council a levy increase of 2%, which would add an additional amount of $92,248 additional funds for the municipality to work with. We are also including in the budget the same amount, it's over $2 million, that we received from the payment in lieu for our power dams. And we don't normally receive notice of what that fund would be until August. But last year we received the same amount we had budgeted, and we anticipate that the government of Ontario will honor the agreement to fund it at the same amount. On the conditional and unconditional grant side, as I previously mentioned, we've received a decrease in our MPF funds and other government grants totaling about $750,000. On the user fees, permits, licensing, and fine side, we've increased and proposing tonight for council to approve the 2020 schedule of fees. We have a various range of between 2% to 5% and increase in user fees proposed for 2020. In some cases, some user fees were not increased because we felt that they were already at the level they should be. And again, I reiterate that council has agreed to keep water and sewer rates overall increased at a 0% for revenues. But again, that will depend to each rate payer or water user, how the new rate system will impact them. Our other revenues include penalties, rent, sale of land, and as I previously noted again, the impact of COVID-19 may have an impact on our revenues. So we're preparing by setting aside revenues of $151,000 in a COVID-19 fund to deal with those projected costs. On the next slide, I'd like to take a few minutes to compare, as I just did on the revenues, compare the 2019-2020 budget on the expense side. So on the Finance Taxation Board's seniors program side, we're projecting a decrease in operating expenses of 18.35%. Basically, the expenses will drop by $787,000. And basically, we're doing that because less money is being transferred to reserves and to capital funds, basically by about 50% less. And that's explained because we didn't have the money that we received as grants in 2019 to put forward into reserves as we did last year. So in 2020, we're not able to put the same amount. On the administration, that was the Finance Taxation Board's line, excuse me. On the finance side, that explains the finance budget expenses dropping by $787,000. On the Administration Council COVID Seniors operating expenses, The comparison of the 2020 expenses to 2019 sees a difference or a drop of $141,186, or a reduction of 7.87%. Basically, staff have done a great job of looking at their budgets, reducing all planned travel, training expenses. We've reduced consulting expenses and also reduced some transfers to reserves to make up that $141,000 difference. On the fire and building side, our 2019 expenses were just over $500,000. And basically in 2020, we're projecting the same. There's just a very small drop, which it can be explained basically by reduced travel and training expenses. On the community services and tourism expense side, in 2019, the expenses were just over $2 million, and we're projecting that in 2020, we dropped those expenses by $144,259, or 6.95% in expenses. And that can be explained as the loss of the drag race and reduced tourism spending. On the infrastructure services budget, the expenditures are increasing roughly by $45,866, or there's been a 1.23% increase to the to the infrastructure services budget, not including the water and sewer budget. And basically that's spread out throughout the budget and can be explained by COLA increases to staff salaries. On the water and sewer budget in 2019, the expenses were $1.173 million, and in 2020, the expenses are $1.45 million. Basically, on paper, it shows an increase of $282,582, or 24% increase to the operating expenses. But I would like council to note that in the previous years, the funds that were designated to capital expenditures or transferred to reserves weren't incorporated into the expense column in 2019, and those excess revenues were not transferred to reserves. So the difference this year is basically the expenses are the same as 2019, but in our accounting record keeping, there are monies being directly transferred to reserves for capital and for setting up two new funds, one being the Water Stabilization Fund and one being a Water and Sewer Reserve Fund for capital. So approximately $320,000 is being added to the expenses and directly transferred to reserves to fund capital projects this year, as well as future capital projects. So the expenses are relatively the same compared to 2019. For information technology, there's a reduction of $22,000 in expenses, or a reduction of 5%, which is basically still a result of a loss of a full-time employee that occurred in 2019. So when you compare year to year, you're comparing to a year that there was an employee in place in 2019. So the total budget in 2019 compared to 2020 is down $768,558, or 5.50%, which is exactly equal to the loss of revenues. And it's overall mainly a result of the loss of grants compared to 2019. On the next slide, I'm showing a breakdown of where the expenditures are by department and where tax dollars and our revenues go. Just to show council a pie chart showing how the expenses are allocated by department, to give council an overview. I'll flip to the next page called 2020 employee costs. I wanted to highlight for council, as we did last year, the employee cost. And basically in 2020 compared to 2019, we have a small increase, which is basically a result of the COLA and changes and increases to some of the benefits. But basically we are holding our employee cost level with 2018. So there's been a small increase over the last 3 years. I'll flip to the next slide called expenditures, just to give you a snapshot of some of the expenditures that have increased in the 2020 budget compared to 2019. For example, our Ontario Provincial Police contract increased by 6.9%, or the increase was about $53,000 to the budget. 1% tax levy increase brings in approximately $46,000. So this is just a little more than a 1% tax levy increase. The library board levy this year, they're asking for an additional $15,889, which translate into 8% increase compared to last year. And that increase is basically because they have budgeted more for books, which they had not purchased over the last couple of years in an effort to reduce costs at the library, and some one-time payouts for employees that they don't anticipate will occur in 2021. Our municipal insurance went up 15.5%. It went up overall an additional $20,000. So it's a cost we have to incur, but we certainly will be looking in 2021 to tender for our insurance coverage again. Our group benefits package went up about 8%, or $15,889. Our water and sewer expenditures went up overall in an estimated percentage of 6% at $75,000. Basically, this was due to the addition of alum to our water system and some of the changes we have to make to the system. So when we talk about our water and sewer budget, there are increased costs within the budget that have increased to deal with the alum issue, which basically is being funded by us as a municipality not being able to put as much money in reserves and into our capital funds as we would want to. So in the future, council will have to increase the amount of money going into the reserves to fund needed capital projects related to water and sewer in the future. This year, we have a one-time tax write-off to deal with compared to 2019 of $185,000, which represents a 75% increase in our expenses on that line item compared to 2019. And that has to do with some long-term properties and issues we've been dealing with, where this year is the year that we will be writing off unpaid taxes. Salary and benefits went up 1%, and landfill costs approximately 5%. So this is just a very short overview to show council some of the expenditures that the municipality is facing in 2020 and have been incorporated into the budget. I'd like to review the next slide, budget reductions COVID-19, and to give council an idea of how the municipal staff have been working to make sure as we presented this budget, we did what we could to prepare for any unseen expenses or revenue losses in the 2020 fiscal year. So all discretionary staff training, conferences, professional development, travel has been suspended. We also have suspended the hiring of any new non-critical positions. We've reviewed our capital program and we looked at all our capital projects to determine could any projects be paused pending the end of the pandemic or deferred to 2021. So one recommendation to council we're making tonight is to defer the sewer jet equipment that was originally approved by council in February during the capital budget presentation, that we defer that $75,000 expense to 2021. We've delayed some projects. Delay in some projects may occur due to COVID-19, but are still included in the budget in the hopes that these projects can proceed before the end of 2020. So included in our budget is still funds set aside to hire an architect engineer to conduct a municipal building review, to proceed with the LNG study, and to hopefully, should we be successful in receiving grants, proceed with our reconstruction of the school zone roads, which is estimated at $4.5 million. So those are still included in our budget, but they may be delayed. We have recommended in the budget the cancellation of a number of events, and reviewed our current programs and services as well as our staffing levels. And we are contemplating possible redeployment and ways that we can continue to look at our municipality with being very, very cautious about how the COVID-19 will affect us. So that COVID-19 lens was applied to all municipal budgets in an effort for us to prepare as best possible for the unknown and what may come. So on the next slides, I'm not going to spend much time tonight, Mayor and Council, on these slides, but I wanted to provide them to you as a snapshot of the revenue and expenses by department, by amalgamated line items. So you could see, for example, the totals of the revenues that we receive from external boards or school boards, and then the associated expenses in a amalgamated line item. But certainly you can go into these accounts and look at every line item that makes up these expenditures and revenues in the budget that I attached to tonight's presentation for council. So I won't spend much time on these slides, but certainly council can ask me questions yet after. The next slide is the corporate admin council budget, and you can see the 2018 actuals, the 2019 actuals, the 2019 budget, and the 2020 budget for comparison purposes. The next slide is the building and fire department. The next slide is the community services and tourism department budget. And these highlight and really make up all the information that I've talked about in the previous slides. The infrastructure services budget, the revenues and expenses. And then the new, for our first time, the new water and sewer non-tax supported budget. It is separated out of the infrastructure budget because the water and sewer will now be treated as non-tax supported and totally supported by user fees. So you can see our budget revenue and expenses equals 0 in the budget. And where the net deficit, if you note in 2019 actuals, was about 339,000. This is what I was trying my best to explain, where in previous years that amount wasn't directly transferred to reserves, but in our 2020 preliminary budget, any projected surplus is being automatically transferred to reserves. And then finally, our information and technology budget. So I know I've gone very quickly, Mayor and Council, through those slides, but I invite you to review them and ask any staff member who's on the phone tonight or in the future when you have an opportunity to review these slides, please contact me or any department head for further explanation on these. So the next slide, if we're able to follow, is the 2020 capital projects, and it's just an updated slide. As I mentioned, and very quickly, this capital projects chart was presented to council in February and approved in principle. But the difference in this chart is the removal of the sewer jet, the $75,000 project, which we're recommending be deferred to 2021. So overall, council can see that from our operating funds, we'll be using $314,000 to fund capital projects in 2020. From our reserves, we will be using $1.314 million will be taken from reserves to fund our 2020 capital projects. From our other, which includes grants, and includes grants such as the previous year's federal gas tax, some funds from our Municipal Affairs Modernization Fund. The total from our grants is just over $4.6 million. So our total estimated capital costs for 2020 are $6.3 million. And this shows council our new breakdown of our capital budget requests. On our next slide, to give council an overview of where the reserve and reserve funds will sit at the end of 2020, based on our estimations and based on the capital funds required, as I just reviewed. Our reserve and reserve funds show council on this slide, the reserve funds in categories with the 2019 balance, what was available at the end of December 31st, 2019, what we are adding to our reserve and reserve funds in 2020 through our budget, what we're going to use in 2020, and then what the estimated balance would be at the end of 2020. So roughly, the balance at the end of 2019 was $7.262 million, and we will be using roughly $600,000, $620,000 from our reserve funds. So we'll be depleting our reserve funds by about $620,000 come the end of 2020. Now, basically, that can be explained because we have two major projects, not just the Connecting Link project, but also in this budget, our school zone project. So those two projects equal about $7.5 million. And for those projects to go ahead, we need to pull funds that are set aside in the reserves and have been set aside in the past to make sure those projects, our 10% share, can move forward. So we are adding 812,000, but are removing 1.4 million from our reserves. But at the end of the year, we'll be using about 620. On our second last slide, I wanted to remind council that attached to this presentation for council tonight was a full budget report by function, by line item, broken down for council to review. And we've attached it. It's 169 pages. Council may want to look at that, but I believe that in this PowerPoint, I've summarized the totals by departments, and this should give council a good overview of where the expenditures and revenues are going by department. There's also a reserve fund worksheet for you to look at our reserve funds, so you can delve into that reserve fund worksheet if you want to know what funds are kept in our general reserves, what funds are kept in obligatory, or what are in our conditional funds. So there's a further breakdown in the reserve fund worksheet attached for you. We've also attached the same capital budget minus the sewer jet 2020-22 capital budget summary sheet, so you can review the capital projects and look at the 2020 capital budget breakdown in terms of what monies are coming from grants, what reserves, and where in the capital, in the operating budget, the capital funds are coming from. So those are all attached to the presentation for tonight for council to review over the next couple of weeks. So in the last budget, the 2020 budget for, the last slide, budget 2020, next steps. So after tonight, council has opportunity to review the materials provided, and we will be advertising to the public tomorrow that they can review this material and provide any comments to council by Friday, May 8th. So we'll take opportunity to give the community time to look over the budget as well as council. We propose that should council be agreeable, that we present the final budget for your approval at the next council meeting on May 12th. Of course, at that meeting to approve the budget would be the associated bylaws, such as adopting the tax rates, the ratios, the capping, and the budget. In this budget, in some ways, we're fortunate that we were a little late with presenting the operating budget to council, because instead of taxpayers potentially looking to council to defer tax dates or change tax due dates, we have the opportunity to set those tax payment due dates for our ratepayers later than normally we've done in the past. So we're going to propose to council that the interim billings be due at the end of July and at the end of October. Normally we would have our billings due a month sooner. So we're able in this budget to set the dates that these taxes, property taxes, are due and payable a little later than normal. On May 12th, we will present to council a new reserve fund and reserve policy. We've been working on some new financial policies to bring forward to council. So we'll be doing that on May 12th. And we're also working on other policies to bring to council related to debt management, investments, and other financial related policies. Our year-end 2019 financial statements as being completed by KPMG. Our staff worked very, very hard, and I'm happy to share that we were very fortunate that KPMG undertook and began our audit and was here the first week of March, and we were their last client that they were able to meet with and deal with the audit. So staff worked very hard to get all the materials required in the audit, and our auditor advises us that the audit should be completed at any time. So council may have year-end financial statements presented to them in May. And at this time, although it needs to be confirmed by the final financial statements, the auditors have advised me that we ended 2019 in a surplus situation. So at this time, Mayor and Council, I'd like to thank you for your patience. I hope you were able to follow the PowerPoint, and certainly open to taking any questions.
Well, I just want to start, Maury, by thanking you and your staff for the excellent presentation, all the work. I know everybody's been working really hard under some very stressful conditions over the last few weeks, so we certainly appreciate your presentation tonight. I'll throw it open. I'll go through with each councillor and ask you if you have a specific question. Councillor Chasson, do you have any comments for Maury?
I got a couple questions, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Maury, due to the COVID-19, that every person in town was affected, including the township, would that stop the people from paying on time their taxes, and are we ready for that?
Thank you, Councillor Chasson. We're as ready as we can be. We've done some estimations around what we project would be some lost revenue to the municipality should some taxpayers delay paying their taxes or delay paying their water and sewer bills. Council was very generous and have approved our recommendation to provide our local taxpayers with opportunities to have more time to pay their tax bills. So the next interim tax billing is due on April 30th, but council approved policies and bylaws that allow taxpayers to pay their tax bill without penalty and without interest until July 1st. The same with the water and sewer bill that will be going out in early May and will be due at the end of May. Council has authorized that the community have opportunity to have a longer amount of time to pay their bills without interest and penalties to July 1st. We have put in the budget, as I mentioned, the $150,000 set aside to hopefully fund some of these expenses and loss of revenues. So at this time, in looking at what other municipalities are doing, I believe that mayor and council are doing the best that they can with this budget and with some of the policies they've approved to provide some form of relief to taxpayers the best that we can. Now, I believe that the finance team will be working to present to council an update on our impacts on COVID-19 and maybe answer you more specifically and clearly, Councillor Chasson, once we have an analysis. And we want to wait until May to bring council analysis on what the impacts might be to our taxpayers and whether we're able to make most are paying their taxes by the April 30th date. So we're waiting to May to do more of an analysis. And so to answer you, I believe that once we do a review of the budget and the impact on our revenues, we may bring to council some additional forms of recommended financial relief for our taxpayers. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And the second question would be either to you or the department heads. On the grant that's going to come through, this COVID-19, would that affect the grants coming in? Or can the government just say, put a stop to everything right now?
Well, I think the federal and Ontario government can certainly pass legislation to impact any of the grants and projects. At this time, we have no indication that the projects that we've budgeted for example, the connecting link, the indications are based on the emergency order that's been issued by the province, and under the definition of what the province has said, our services and programs that are deemed essential. The projects that we've budgeted, such as the connecting link, fall under the essential programs that may proceed. So at this time, we're not anticipating that the government's going to put a hold on any of the grants we're proposing to move forward in 2020 or any of the projects. But certainly, Councillor Chaisson, if, and this is my opinion, if our efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19 and our efforts to flatten the curve do not prove successful in the future, I would anticipate that there may be more drastic measures put in place for our government. Now, I would note that our Connecting Link grant funding is approved and we're moving forward with that. But please just note that on the school zone project, and I think maybe this may partly be due to COVID-19, but I cannot say for sure. We've not received any notice from the government that we've received the funding, so we cannot proceed until we get that notice. And I'm hoping that that won't be delayed by COVID-19, but that's possible. But all our other capital projects may proceed.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say thank you to you and your staff who worked so hard to get this budget on track. And keep up the good work. Awesome, guys. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Councillor Hatfield, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, just quick ones.
Sure, go ahead.
Do we have any union contracts coming up this year?
Yes, we do, Councillor Hatfield. Our union negotiations or contract, I believe, expires the end of July. So we will be looking into entering negotiations sometime this year.
And is there any chance that our town would qualify for any kinds of money from COVID-19 funds?
In a limited way at this time, Councillor Hatfield, there are some small programs that we can apply to. For example, some of the summer job services funds that was announced where the federal government will pay 100% of the wages of summer students. We would be eligible for that. The unfortunate part right now is that the applications to that program closed on February 28th. So right now there's a little bit of discussion going on that if you didn't apply in February, then you can't get the 100% wages paid. So I know there's some action being done at the federal provincial level to try to open up that window to apply again. So some of those smaller programs, but overall, no. The answer is actually no. The municipality is not able to access some of the programs that have been announced in terms of wage subsidy programs. At this time, just based on what our Association of Municipalities of Ontario is sending and all our municipal associations, there are no specific programs that the federal provincial government have announced to assist municipalities with the anticipated cost reductions and the cost increases and revenue reductions that may occur to municipalities. There are no specific programs announced for municipalities to apply to access support. But again, I do understand through our municipal associations that they're making every effort to make sure that both the federal provincial levels consider municipal needs moving forward with future programs to be announced.
Thank you. Maury, congratulations to your staff. I love the way you presented that budget.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
Councillor Reese, do you have any questions?
Hi, Ms. Mayor. No, I don't have any questions at this time. They were already answered for me. But I would like to continue on with what you and the other councillors have said. Congratulations to Maury and the staff. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Robert. Councillor Tate, do you have any questions?
At this point, no, I need to digest this a little more. All I'd like to do right now is thank Maury and her staff and all the people that contributed to this budget to make it happen. And we'll look forward to studying it a little bit and getting our questions out there.
We have a couple of weeks to do that, if not longer. So certainly take your time to go over it thoroughly. I just had one question, and it's more of a specific question. If we aren't spending the $75,000 on the sewer jet this year, to what extent do we have to increase our operating budget to have that service done by a group from outside of Wawa? We still have that done? Maybe Corey, did you have to add money to your operating budget?
No, I did not have additional increase.
Were we planning on bringing in the that large truck that does the washing out of the sewer lines?
So just to further, I guess, explain is based on capital budget approval and the RFP process required to purchase, I left the budget intact for 2020, assuming that I would have to use a vac truck anyway, and there's no changes. So.
Okay, thank you very much. That answers my question. So I'd ask council to continue to look at that very thoroughly, and as you read through it, certainly if you have questions, write them down. You have staff phone numbers. Give Maury a call. She can certainly answer your questions over the next couple of weeks. So we'll move to item number 5. It's the adoption of the minutes. I just need one person. Councillor Tate, will you move that for me, please?
Yes, I'll move that.
So we need approval of the corporate planning meeting minutes from April 7th, 2020. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes.
Approved. Thank you. So minutes are approved. Business arising out of the previous minutes, COVID-19 update. Who is going to be speaking to that first? Kathy, were you?
Maury was going to.
I didn't get myself prepared, I'm sorry. COVID-19 update, we continue to meet weekly with our emergency management control group. Keep in regular contact with the, excuse me. The Algoma Public Health is keeping in regular contact with us about any changes or questions that we have. So we're very, very happy and pleased with the communications from all our partners and participation on our weekly calls. Our emergency coordinator, Kathy and Kevin, also attend a weekly meet with the Algoma District emergency managers to see what's happening in the district. And we've been keeping in touch with anyone in the region that way to make sure that we have weekly updates. As council is aware, there have been some declarations and requirements for us to follow the Ontario regulations requiring us to close all municipal parks. So signage, Alex is preparing signage to go up at all our municipal parks. We have to follow provincial regulations which mandate us to close our parks. That also includes our municipal marina. We have documentation from Federal Fisheries and Oceans that designate that marina must be closed. And Alex has been doing an excellent job to make sure we get some signage down there and making sure the public is aware through regular press releases. Those barricades are down there or on their way down there to make sure that the community is aware. we've been keeping in regular contact with the Lady Dunn Health Center and assisting, as council is aware, with the ensuring that they have a place to run their COVID-19 test facility. All provincial orders have mandated that all provincial parks be closed. And we are continuing to see what programs that have been announced. Some were announced today that provide some funds to social agencies, to seniors, to see how we can support our agencies and our community with things like food delivery and food services. So we are keeping in constant contact with all our partners and organizations to make sure we're up to date on legislation. We're communicating with the public through Facebook, through our website, through our radio addresses. And I just want to thank all staff. Everyone has been playing a role in our emergency planning and our emergency preparedness, and doing an excellent job to make sure not only that our health and safety of our employees are protected and that we're practicing social distancing and making sure our employees are safe, but we're also making sure we're doing what we can to make sure that our community is safe. And so I recognize all the department heads and their team for doing an excellent job.
And Maury, if I may point out, I've asked my staff to update our municipal website. So stay tuned, everyone. There's going to be more up-to-date information available on our website with respect to COVID, with a direct link right at the top of the web page. I think that's one of the main ones that we are currently working on. And the staff are also trying to finalize our continuity of operations plan, which I plan to bring back to council very shortly.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the COVID-19 update for staff? Well, thank you. We'll move to new business item 7.1. It's the scheduling of meetings, and this, of course, is also because of COVID-19. So you will see the new schedule. Today's meeting, April 21st, so the next meeting following will be May 12th, and then just one meeting in June on the 9th, July and the 14th, etc. Going back to 2 meetings in September, assuming that we may be able to do that, but again, that may change. But for now, we will be dealing with a 1 meeting per month, as we are doing tonight, for May, June, July, and August. Are there any questions about the changes to the schedule? Thank you. So we will approve that, and also give proper notice, and it's something that will appear on our website, so people are aware of the changes.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, motion is coming to the regular meeting following this one.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you.
Item 7.2 is the one Robert has declared on. So we'll ask Robert if you will hang up. Will Kathy, will you call Robert? Someone will call Robert. Robert, you'll get a call from somebody here to tell you when you can join us again. Is that good?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so item 7.2, Corey, were you going to speak to this item first?
Yeah, I'm just going to touch up on a few topics related to it. So, Crescent Engineering, who was awarded the consulting services for this project, issued a tender on Thursday, April 9th. The tender was closed. Kathy and I opened the tenders, and we advertised for the public and contractors, and we put her on through Zoom onto YouTube so they could view. We received 3 tenders that were accepted from Provost Pioneer and Boulanger Construction. Then those tenders went straight to Crescent Engineering for review. So Crescent wrote this recommendation upon the review. Based on the 3 bids received and the work outlined in the tender and all contractors meeting the requirements from the tender, President is recommending that we award the lowest bidder, which is Provo Contracting, in the amount of $2.9 million, excluding HST. Just a couple notes on this. As mentioned before, the budget was 3.3. So with the Provo's contracting as well as the engineering, we are slightly under the budget, and there's also the contingency amount. I think it's $250,000 in that amount from Provo as their bid. So we'll be in good standing for this project as long as there's no delays forced due to the COVID-19.
Thank you, Corey. Are there any questions for Corey?
I have one.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Corey, I'm a little bit confused. I thought Provo was no longer Provo. I thought it was Villeneuve. Like, we're not going to run into a problem with that, are we?
No. So, to my understanding, I don't know the details behind it. That's something you have to speak to them about. There was a phasing out over a 5-year period to the agreement. And although it is currently owned by the other party, Provo is very much still involved day by day through the operations. And the people present, as well as the bidding of this project and the communication was through Villeneuve as well. So they're very well aware of this project ongoing and their involvement in it.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No questions, Corey.
Bill has a question. Go ahead, Bill.
Corey, how many people applied for this position or this job?
We received 3 proposals for the tender.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, we'll just wait one moment so that Councillor Reese can call back.
Okay, so this will be coming up in the regular meeting for approval. We are just contacting Councillor Reese, so there'll be a brief pause, and we'll get back for 7.3 in a moment.
Hi, Robert, you can go back in. Okay, bye.
Are you there, Robert?
Hi, yes, I'm back.
Very good. Thank you. We'll note that 7:47, Robert's returned to the regular, to the corporate planning meeting. So item 7.3 is the installation of temporary greenhouse at John's Value Mart. This is a request that we get annually. Initially, we thought there may be concerns regarding establishing this under COVID-19 regulations, but I understand, Kevin, everything has been cleared.
Yes, it's been cleared.
Very good. So this will be coming forward for approval in the regular meeting. Are there any questions at this stage that anybody may have? Hearing none, I'll move on to item 7.4 is a memo regarding the cancellation of Northern National Drag Race for 2020. Alex, did you want to comment on that?
Yes, I would, please. So at the last drag race meeting, the committee made the decision to postpone the 2020 drag races until 2021. This is primarily due to COVID-19, but also a lot of the spin-off factors that happened because of the current economic situation. So of course, this race depends a whole lot on sponsors. It also depends a whole lot on people actually coming and being spectators and racers. So unfortunately, due to all those factors, when people are starting to make their plans for the summer, which is essentially now, when we're going out to get sponsor dollars, which is now, we were seeing that there was a really large slowdown in that as well. We've also had communications with Elliott Lake and Shapwa. Now, of course, Shapwa is a bit of a different story because they're up in the air, but the Elliott Lake committee was having the same sorts of conversations as we were having. So at the end of the day, the committee decided that the best thing to do would be to cancel the races for 2020. That also means the repeal of a couple bylaws specifically regarding the races. The second portion of this, obviously the news is going to break today should council decide to repeal those bylaws and accept the recommendation from the committee. But we would like to not only announce it today that the Wawa race would be canceled, but also with Elliott Lake together announce that the tour, which is essentially the 3 races, the Northern Triple Crown, would be canceled together as essentially just solidarity with the other races, because I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed about this. At the end of the day, we want to give people a little hope. We want to say, hey, you know what, the races are going to come back next year stronger than ever, and this is something that we need to do essentially with an abundance of caution to make sure that the racers, the spectators, the volunteers, everybody's as safe as possible during this time, and not trying to plan and to do a whole bunch of preparations when it might not be the best idea to do this in August.
I certainly agree, Alex. I think that's the best decision. Are there any questions for Alex regarding this topic? Well, thank you. And again, in the regular meeting, there will be several items pertaining to this. So there are no in-camera, no business arising.
Oh, sorry, Ron. Sorry, Mayor. I was on mute. I didn't get a chance to get my question.
Sorry, go ahead then, for Alex.
I just want to explain how this works. It says you recommend that council repeal the relevant bylaws pertaining to the 2020 Wawa drag races. How does that work?
I'll let Kathy answer that for us, if she may.
So Councillor Tate, what'll happen is at the regular meeting, we will repeal the bylaw to enter into an agreement with Luskville, and we will also repeal the agreement for the memorandum of understanding with the firefighters. And what that does is just makes the agreement
To get another bylaw then passed?
Yes, we will go through the passage of the bylaw earlier in the year in 2021.
Okay, so this comes back to council. The council decides on where it goes.
Yes, that is
That's
correct.
right. Those bylaws
Okay.
come up each year that we run the race.
Okay, thanks.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
So our next meeting is Tuesday, May 12th. And Councillor Reese, could I ask you to move that we adjourn?
Yes, I will move that.
Thank you. So I'll call the question. Do you approve, Councillor Chasson?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I do.
Well, thank you. The meeting's adjourned at 7:52. Thank you. We will immediately move into our regular council meeting for Tuesday, April 21st. I'll call the meeting to order and call out those in attendance. Councillor Chasson?
Here.
Councillor Hatfield?
I'm here.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Tate?
I'm here too.
Thank you. And we have Kathy and Maury here present with me as well. Still on the line, Manuela?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Corey?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Alex?
I'm here.
Thank you. Jason? Not, okay. And Kevin?
Present.
Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. Robert, you have a disclosure to read?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I, Councillor Robert Reed, declare a potential direct pecuniary interest on item number 10.2, title Highway 101 Connecting Link, as I'm employee with State Provost.
Thank you. So noted in the minutes. Approval of the agenda. We'll need a mover and a seconder. Bill, will you move? And Mitch, will you be the seconder on the approval of the agenda?
I approve.
Okay, so Bill approves. Councillor Hatfield, do you approve the agenda?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Tate?
Yes.
Thank you. There
Excuse
are,
me, Mr. Mayor, can I read the
oh,
motion?
sorry, I forgot here, we're not in corporate. The clerk is going to be reading all these motions. Okay.
And hopefully everyone will hear me. Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 be approved as presented.
Do I need to call them again? Should I?
Yes?
Okay,
Yes.
Councillor Chason, sorry about that, make you do it again. Do you approve?
I do.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes.
Thank you. There are no delegations or presentations. On announcements, I'd like to make a couple announcements. First of all, on behalf of council and the residents of Wawa, I extend our sincere condolences to the families and friends of the victims of the Nova Scotia tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers are also with the many Wawa residents who call Nova Scotia home. We all feel your loss. The second announcement I have is to inform council and our residents that the Algoma District Services Administration Board is proceeding with plans to construct a 10-unit senior apartment complex on Algoma Street. Tenders for the project close on April 28th, and a final decision should be made in early May. And because this complex has affordable housing units, that's deemed an essential service, and this construction can proceed at this time. Are there any other announcements from other councillors?
Mr. Rhodey, I would just like to extend my sympathies to Nova Scotia. I lived exactly where all that happened and know several people. I didn't know anybody that died, but they are wonderful people.
Well, thank you, Mitch. So there's just notice of a couple of meetings, 5.1 and 5.2. Adoption of the minutes for April 7th. I'll need a mover. Mitch, will you move?
Yes, I will.
Seconder, Mr. Chason?
I will.
Okay, and I'll get the clerk to read the motion.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Chason, resolved that the following minutes of a meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, April 7, 2020, as contained on pages 1 to 4, inclusive of the minute book.
Councillor Chason, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Tate?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. The minutes are approved. In the consent agenda, we have a resolution to approve the consent agenda. I'll ask it to be moved by Councillor Reese and seconded by Councillor Tate. And I'll get the clerk to read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Tate, resolved that the items listed under consent agenda, items 7.2 to 7.11, be approved as recommended.
All in favor, I'll call it out. Councillor Chason?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I do.
those approved all the way up to 11. I have resolution behind some of these other ones, but that
But
shouldn't
they're all
be
approved through the consent.
just through the one. Thank you. So moving to staff reports, 8.1 to receive the staff report, the engineering consultant services. Again, I need a resolution. If I could get Councillor Chasson to move this and Councillor Hatfield to second it, I'll get the clerk to read the resolution.
I'll move it.
Okay, thank you.
Moved by Councillor Chasson, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive staff report CS 2020-04, RFP 2020-01, engineering consulting services, a copy of which is attached here too.
Okay, I'll call, any questions first? If not, I'll call the question. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That resolution is passed. There are no business arising out of the previous meeting. New business 10.1, we have a resolution to accept the staff recommendation regarding the engineering consultant services. So I'll ask this to be moved by Councillor Tate and seconded by Councillor Reese, and I'll get the clerk to read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Reese. Whereas the municipality of Wawa requires engineering services for annual monitoring, reports and inspections, municipal staff support and expertise in areas of engineering such as roads, sewer, water, environmental, structural, geotechnical, planning, traffic, solid waste management, and general services. And whereas staff completed an RFP process for engineering services for the municipality of Wawa, receiving 7 accepted proposals. And whereas 3 management staff reviewed and graded each proposal as outlined in the RFP process. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby accept the staff recommendation to select Pension Limited and their listed subconsultant STEM Engineering to provide engineering services for the municipality for the services of roads, environmental, structural, geotechnical, planning, traffic, solid waste management, and general services, excluding water and wastewater services for 3 years with an option to extend to 5 years upon review. And further, that Council does hereby accept the staff recommendation to retain Crescent Engineering Corporation to be the engineering on record for water, wastewater services only for the municipality of Wawa for 1 year with an option to extend for a 2nd year upon review.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. The resolution is accepted. Item 10.2, I'll ask Councillor Reese to hang up at this point, and we'll follow the same procedure and call you back to get you for the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we have the resolution to accept the recommendation regarding the Highway 101 connecting link improvements. I'll ask Councillor Hatfield to move this and Councillor Tate to second it.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Tate. Whereas the municipality of Wawa issued a tender for the Highway 101 Connecting Link Improvement Project, and whereas 3 tenders were received, evaluated, and a recommendation made by the project engineer, Crescent Engineering Corporation, to accept the tender submitted by J. Provo Contracting Limited, and whereas the tender bid amount is within the project estimate, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby accept the tender received from J. Provo Contracting Limited, Wawa, for the Highway 101 Connecting Link Improvement Project at a cost of $2,969,078.80 plus HST.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Tate?
I approve.
Thank you. The motion is carried. We will call Councillor Reese back, and when he joins us, we'll continue. Thank you. We'll just have a short pause.
Mr. Mayor, I have one little thing to say before we start the next one.
Hi, Robert, just hold on.
It's regarding what, Councillor Hatfield? It's not on.
It's just a compliment on the agenda. No,
Okay.
I want to say, being on many boards the way I am, I truly would like to congratulate you working so hard on getting that senior complex for Wawa this summer.
Well, thank you. It's there are a lot of people in our community that have assisted us, as well as you know, our board members on the ADSAB board that have seen the need in Wawa and are very supportive. I think I just heard Robert come back. Are you with us, Robert?
Yes, I'm in.
Thank you. So we'll continue. Thanks again, Mitch, for that comment. Under notice of motion, we have nothing for tonight. Bylaws, we need a resolution. Bill, can you move it? And Councillor Reese, I'll get you the second for the bylaws, and I'll ask the clerk to read that, please.
Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Reese. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3293-20 to enter into an agreement with Lloyd's of Wawa Limited for the provision of providing public transportation services for the corporation and municipality of Wawa for the years 2020 and 2021. Bylaw number 3298-20 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 21st day of April 2020. Bylaw number 3299-20 to repeal bylaw number 3287-20 and to adopt the revised schedule of fees for the corporation and municipality of Wawa for the year 2020. Bylaw number 3300-20 to repeal bylaw number 3278-20, being a bylaw to authorize the municipality of Wawa to enter into an agreement with Luskville Dragway Company Limited for facilitation and provision of services for racing event to be held in Wawa at the Wawa Municipal Airport. Bylaw number 3301-20 to repeal bylaw number 3279-20, being a bylaw to authorize the municipality of Wawa to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Wawa Volunteer Firefighters Association for assisting and hosting the Northern National Drag Race event to be held in Wawa at the Wawa Municipal Airport. Bylaw number 3302-20 to authorize the sale of municipal land located at 12 3rd Avenue, roll number 5776-000-002-167-000000 and 15 2nd Avenue, roll number 5776-000-002-09507-0000 in the municipality of Wawa to Thomas Benjamin.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding any of the bylaws? Hearing none, we'll call a question. Do you approve, Councillor Chason? Thank you.
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield? Councillor Hatfield, are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So the bylaws are approved. Moving to close this session, if I could get Councillor Hatfield to move and Councillor Tate to second the motion to go into closed. Councillor Chason, do you approve?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Oh, sorry. I'm speeding up again. I forgot to get the clerk to read it. So we'll get the
We'll
clerk.
start over.
Yeah, thank you. So it's a move by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Tate.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Tate. Resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 8:08 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to: 1, a legal issue, closed matter complaint 2020-01, investigation by closed meeting investigator, and 2, a legal issue, Ministry of Labor, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before the administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Thank you. And now I'll call the question. Do you approve, Councillor Chasson? Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
Sorry, I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So we will make the necessary arrangements. There's some changes in procedure now in terms of calling in. Did you want to go over anything?
Mayor, what I'm going to do now for our live feed is I'm going to drop a slide that states the council now in camera session. We're going to put the Zoom and YouTube live streaming on mute, and council can stay on the line. We're going to mute our meeting owl and we'll just take our phone. They can stay on the line.
Okay.
But we're going to pause all our live streaming, but we will come back online to live stream once we're back out of in camera.
Very good.
And all staff are asked to
Oh,
disconnect.
All staff are asked to disconnect at this time. Thank you. So councillors can remain on the line, and Maury is going to mute the live stream.
Do you think muting the live stream is good enough?
Yeah, we're going to take our teleconference device into another room.
Okay.
I just need a minute. I'm trying to find the slide that Jason created and I can't find it.
Will you be disconnecting that? No, I'll have to call in.
No,
No.
you're not.
We're going to put everything on pause.
You can bring that with
Oh.
you.
I can't find the slide. I don't. It was here the other day, right?
So you have to back. Remember we found the desktop?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, it's
That's where
right.
you found it on the desktop.
Yes, you're right. We just need 1 minute. We'll, get out of here. Get out of here. I want to get out of there. I just want to
Minimize. Minimize the screen.
How did I do it last time?
I think you clicked on.
Okay, so
You have it sharing
gotta-
screens, but it's not showing as shared yet.
yeah, it's sharing right now. Oh, no, we don't see it.
I thought we did.
So I gotta just make sure all the volume here, Kathy. So that goes on mute.
Do you have a copy of the in-camera agenda?
I'm gonna bring the file.
I don't need to bring my computer.
No.
Is there something else here? you
Just
want?
bring that phone.
Just the phone, if you wouldn't mind.
Kathy, do you know how to make sure that's on mute, the owl?
You press the button and it turned. red.
I don't know.
I can't put,
Go in the committee room.
yeah.
Sorry. You had pressed them. No red light came on. I don't know. Sorry,
That's okay.
but Jason can.
Mr. Mayor, can you or Maury call me after this meeting on my cell phone, please?
Sure.
Yep.
We're back on live stream. Oh, I'm gonna mute this.
So thank you. We are now back in regular session.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I have one question. I never know when to ask the questions I have.
We're out of close now.
Yeah, we're out of close, so it certainly can't be,
No,
So-
it's just,
perhaps you could call myself or Maury and we'll deal
oh,
with
yeah,
it.
sure.
Okay, that'll probably be the best. way.
It's nothing fantastic,
Okay.
but I can't wait.
Very good, thank you. So there's no business arising from the closed session. Our next meeting is Tuesday, May 12th at 2020. And we have a motion to adjourn the regular council meeting at 8:28. And if I could ask Robert to move it and Mitch to second, I'll get the clerk to read the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, we only need one mover.
Oh, sorry, we
Moved
just need
by Councillor Reese, resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 8:28 PM.
Councillor Session, do you approve?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I do.
Okay, the motion is carried. The meeting's adjourned. I want to thank you all very much for your participation tonight. Stay safe, stay well. Take care.
Good night.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.